The Elbaf Arc of One Piece has delivered what fans have been waiting for since the first whisper of his name, an in-depth look at Rocks D. Zebec, one of the most terrifying and mysterious pirates to ever live. For years, Rocks has been a mythic presence in the story, spoken about only in hushed tones by legends like Sengoku and Garp. Known for leading the most dangerous crew in history, composed of future Yonko like Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido and Shiki, Rocks was the face of chaos in an age before Roger. His ambitions went beyond mere treasure or freedom. He sought to challenge the very foundations of the world by targeting the celestial dragons directly. This made him an existential threat not only to the world government, but to the entire balance of power across the seas. Sengoku's words in Marineford still echo, "Rocks was Roger's greatest enemy." This means something profound. Despite Roger's repeated clashes with Whitebeard and Garp, it was Rocks who haunted him most, suggesting a rivalry far more dangerous and personal than previously understood. We long assumed that Rocks must have been the strongest, perhaps even far above Roger, especially given that it took both Roger and Garp working together during the God Valley incident to bring him down. But now, with One Piece chapter 1155, that perception has dramatically shifted. What seemed like the tale of an unstoppable monster defeated by two heroes now appears to be the beginning of Roger's true ascent. Not a story of Rocks being surpassed in the moment, but of Roger growing beyond him in the years that followed. We now know that Roger had an earlier encounter with Rocks a year before God Valley, and based on his later reflections, it seems that Roger may have lost or narrowly escaped defeat. That encounter clearly left a scar, mentally or physically, and it's heavily implied that Rocks was superior at that time. At God Valley, however, the stakes were different. It wasn't just about pirates clashing for territory or pride, it was about protecting the celestial dragons, a cause Roger had no love for. But for reasons still unknown, Roger and Garp allied to stop Rocks, who was likely after an ancient secret, possibly related to the Void Century or the One Piece itself. During this battle, Rocks fell not just due to brute force, but due to the combined might, strategy and will of two of the most powerful men in history. Still, the victory wasn't clean. Many fans speculate that Rocks wasn't actually killed, but instead erased from history by the world government, perhaps imprisoned, perhaps banished to some unknown land, or maybe even left in a comatose or sealed state, given the lack of a confirmed death. If so, his influence may yet return. The most intriguing reveal from chapter 1155 is that Rocks used a very unique swordsmanship style, a blunt force technique where his blade didn't cut but struck with impact so heavy it felt like being hit by a hammer. It was a crude yet incredibly powerful style that emphasized raw force, hockey mastery, and overwhelming presence. What makes this even more important is that Roger later used this exact same style, most notably during his clash with Whitebeard, where the sheer force of their weapons and Conqueror's haki split the skies. This implies that Roger not only respected Rocks, but learned from him, adopting and perfecting his fighting style. The idea that Roger would take something so unique and make it his own shows not just admiration, but the mindset of someone always growing. After Rocks fell, Roger didn't stop. He gathered more powerful crewmates, like Odin, explored the world, reached Laugh Tale, discovered the truth of the world, and became the Pirate King. At that point, Roger was arguably at his absolute peak, stronger than any pirate alive, including Whitebeard, who was described as the man closest to him. But it's important to note that Roger achieved all this after Rocks' fall, proving that he had grown far beyond the man who once stood above him. In that sense, Roger didn't defeat Rocks at his strongest, but Roger himself became something Rocks never could be, a pirate king not just in title, but in soul and legacy. And here's where the theory gets deeper. Many fans now believe that Rocks D. Zebec might have been a dark mirror to Joy Boy, a bearer of the will of D who rejected fate, choosing to forcibly destroy the world's hierarchy rather than liberate it through understanding. His chaotic nature, disregard for human life, and obsession with power may have made him the failed D, or even a predecessor to Blackbeard, who also carries an inherited will of destruction. In contrast, Roger embodies balance, curiosity, and legacy, paving the way for Luffy, the true heir to Joy Boy's will. This comparison recontextualizes their rivalry. Rocks was the what-if version of a D who tried to change the world with force and failed. Roger was the transitional D who passed the baton to the next generation, understanding that his time was limited, but the will must live on. The fact that Roger learned from Rocks, surpassed him, and eventually outshone him in history tells us everything. Rocks was a storm, a destructive force with no clear direction, while Roger was the dawn, lighting the path forward. Their battle at God Valley may have marked the end of Rocks, but it was truly the beginning of Roger's legend. In the end, Rocks D. Zebec may have been stronger than Roger once, but Roger became far more than just a strong man. He became a symbol, a king, and the legend that all others are now measured against. Well, the video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. because even the Pirate King needs a crew. We'll meet again with another amazing video. Until then, stay awesome and don't get lost like Zoro.